Hack Story presents. Harper was a woman who was never used to socializing, a trait that others took advantage of, to pretend to be her. But what no one knew was that she was actually the lawful wife of the company's billionaire owner, the very place where she was mistaken for a mere secretary. Would she choose to exact revenge on the person who stole her identity and impersonated her? Or would she choose to forgive? Let's listen to Harper's story. How is everyone doing here? Is everything all right? Harper Vance raised an elegant eyebrow when a woman suddenly barged into the executive office of her husband, Matthew Vance, while she was standing and organizing some paperwork on the desk. Her husband was currently out of the country on a business trip in Tokyo. She hadn't accompanied him, so she stepped in temporarily to manage his office. Harper didn't recognize the woman who had just walked in. Judging by her appearance, it didn't look like she was there for corporate business because her skirt was incredibly short. Her cleavage was practically spilling out of her top. She looked like she was heading to a nightclub in downtown Manhattan. Oh, you're probably wondering who I am. I'm Chloe Vance, the wife of your boss, Matthew. You must be his secretary, right? I apologize if you're only meeting me now. I'm not really into socializing, and this is the first time I've left the mansion because I need to temporarily step in for Matthew. He's away on a business meeting, you see, Chloe said, with an exaggerated, artificial sweetness. Harper's eyebrow arched even higher at Chloe's words. She couldn't believe that she had been mistaken for Matthew's secretary, but she was even more astounded that this stranger was pretending to be Matthew's wife. As the wife of a billionaire CEO, it had never crossed Harper's mind to flaunt her status because she detested a chaotic lifestyle. She wanted to keep her private life just as quiet as it had been before she married Matthew. Even though she was the daughter of a prominent businessman herself, not a single piece of information about her would show up if you searched online. The only way someone could uncover her true identity was if a powerful figure hired a private investigator. She and Matthew had actually met when he visited her parents' estate in the Hamptons for a potential partnership. From then on, they grew close, sparking a romance that eventually led to marriage. Being Matthew's wife, she knew it was inevitable to have enemies, especially in the cutthroat corporate world. That's why she had pleaded with Matthew to keep her information strictly confidential. Fortunately, Matthew had no objections. Harper's husband, Matthew Vance, was the chief executive officer of Vance Industries. Their primary exports were advanced polymers and synthetic oils, and their products were the most recognized, proven, and tested when it came to quality. That was why, even when her husband's company was just starting out, it had already garnered massive support. Harper secretly shook her head. Listening to the imposter, Chloe, Harper never would have guessed that someone would actually impersonate her simply because she maintained a fiercely private life. Looking at her, Chloe didn't seem shy at all. She looked liberated and entirely accustomed to flaunting her body to get male attention. So, even without talking to her further, Harper seriously doubted a single word coming out of her mouth. What? Are you just going to stare at me? Move aside. I'm going to sit down, Chloe snapped irritably. She roughly pushed Harper's shoulder, forcing her to step back. Acting like royalty, Chloe sat in Matthew's leather swivel chair and spun it around, looking as though she was deeply feeling her role as Mrs. Vance. Ma'am, why are you only arriving now? There's a lot of paperwork that needs to be signed, Harper said, deciding to just play along with the charade for now. Harper blew out a breath and looked away in sheer disbelief at the wide, smug smile on Chloe's face. Because she had called her ma'am, she couldn't just kick the woman out now and declare that she was the real wife. She worried Chloe might have an ulterior motive. Harper thought she needed to gather more information and concrete evidence about this impersonation because it would definitely be useful at the right time. You don't have to question me. You're not the boss. Whatever time I want to come in is none of your business, Chloe said bitchily. Harper simply sighed. She could easily expose her right then and there, but she didn't. She would hold her temper if necessary to extract more information about what this woman's true agenda was in pretending to be Matthew's wife. By the way, tell everyone to gather at the corporate auditorium. I am going to introduce myself. It's time they know that I am Matthew's wife, Chloe ordered arrogantly. Harper raised an eyebrow. I thought you were an introvert who didn't like socializing? If you introduce yourself, you'll definitely become the hot topic of the entire company. Chloe stood up silently, glaring at Harper, and slowly walked toward her. She stopped right in front of Harper and looked her dead in the eye. Are you disobeying me? Let me remind you, I am your boss here. You will follow everything I say, Chloe said firmly, aggressively, poking Harper's shoulder with her index finger. Harper didn't flinch. She remained standing tall, her face deadpan. I'm just concerned about you because, as you said, you don't like socializing. It will surely be difficult for you. Seeing that Harper wasn't the least bit intimidated, Chloe grew visibly irritated and rolled her eyes. Mind your own business. Just do your job and don't meddle with me unless you want me to tell Matthew to fire you, Chloe threatened. Harper smirked. From Chloe's behavior, it was obvious she was actually nervous. She was just trying hard to hide it and act tough. Harper just shrugged. Okay, if that's what you want. By the way, my name is Harper. Chloe's jaw dropped slightly at Harper's response. To Chloe, something felt off about the way Harper answered. It felt mocking. Harper left Chloe alone after introducing herself because the woman clearly didn't care anyway, and she went to notify her husband's employees. Just as Chloe ordered, she told them to gather at the corporate auditorium. The corporate auditorium was a massive hall where all employees assembled whenever upper management had major announcements. Harper returned to her husband's office after informing every department about the assembly. Upon entering, she caught Chloe with her feet propped up on the mahogany desk, leaning back in the chair like a queen. She looked more like an Instagram model doing a photo shoot with her posture. Harper glared at Chloe in sheer annoyance. She had meticulously cleaned Matthew's desk several times, so she couldn't help but be irritated seeing the woman's dirty heels on it. I've informed them, ma'am. They are heading to the corporate auditorium now, Harper informed Chloe, suppressing her temper. Chloe just nodded, acting completely indifferent to what Harper said. Aren't you going down, ma'am? Harper asked, frowning. Chloe looked at Harper as if she was an annoying pest. Why are you in such a rush? You seem awfully eager for me to leave my husband's office. Aren't you quite the decision maker? You act like you're the boss. Ma'am, right now, they are definitely waiting there. It's a waste of company time if you make them wait too long. And what do I care? Let them chill for a while. Does it physically hurt you that they aren't working while you're standing here? To be fair, don't do anything for now either. Give yourself a break, girl, Chloe said with a laugh. Harper clenched her fists. She was furious at Chloe's sheer audacity to waste time, considering this wasn't even her company. Ma'am, we aren't paid a salary to just chill. Sir is in another country, working his off. We can't stomach the idea of slacking off and having fun while he is abroad exhausting himself for this company, Harper said boldly. Harper saw Chloe's expression shift. She glared viciously at Harper, dropped her feet from the desk, and sat up straight. Is that your way of saying I'm not a good leader? Just because I gave you guys a little time to relax? Harper shrugged, completely unfazed by Chloe's death glare. Of course not. It just depends on how you interpret it, ma'am. Harper walked over to the desk designated for Matthew's actual secretary, who was currently out sick. The secretary had just submitted her 1-week leave request before Chloe arrived, which Harper had personally approved. Harper had asked the secretary to teach her the ropes beforehand, so she wasn't entirely clueless about the job. You know, you're the only secretary I know who has such thick skin and is so ungrateful. I'm sure if I told any other secretary to take a break, they'd be thrilled. Unlike you. Never mind. You're just a secretary anyway. Chloe turned her back on Harper, rolling her eyes. She slammed the door loudly on her way out, leaving Harper to just shake her head. Grabbing her smartphone, Harper followed Chloe down to the corporate auditorium. There, she found her chatting with the employees about absolutely pointless things. Before Chloe could start introducing herself on stage, Harper covertly started recording a video of her from a distance. Good morning, everyone. I am Chloe Vance, the wife of your boss, Matthew, Chloe began. The employees listened quietly. Some were whispering among themselves. Wow, Sir's wife is gorgeous. She looks a bit intimidating, but seems easy to get along with because she smiles a lot. I noticed that too. I just really hope she isn't a bitch. We're definitely screwed if she's mean. We aren't used to having a strict boss. She doesn't seem mean. Sir wouldn't marry her if she had a bad personality. You know how nice Sir Matthew is. I'm sure he'd pick someone just as kind to be his wife. Harper heard all the whispers from the employees standing in front of her. She could only shake her head. I'm actually an introvert. I didn't plan on introducing myself to you all because it isn't really important, and I hate being the center of attention. But you also need to know that I am temporarily taking charge while Matthew is at a business meeting abroad. Oh, don't worry. I won't make things hard for you. However Matthew treats you, I will treat you exactly the same way, Chloe said cheerfully. Harper looked up at the ceiling, utterly exhausted by the woman's sheer phoniness. She knew her smile was completely fake. She could see how the employees rejoiced and seemed to breathe a collective sigh of relief at Chloe's words. If you don't have any questions about me, you can go back to work. I just hope that whatever we discussed here doesn't leave this room. I'd prefer if no one else outside of here knew that I am Matthew's wife, because I still want to keep my life private. Understood? No problem, ma'am, a male employee answered loudly. You can count on us. Right, guys? Chimed in his coworker, with the rest of the team agreeing. Looking at Chloe, Harper saw the glimmer of absolute delight in her eyes. She was clearly reveling in the power. Harper listlessly stopped recording and saved the video on her phone before heading back to the office. A few minutes after Harper had sat back down at the secretary's desk, Chloe strutted in with her head held high and a massive, self-satisfied grin on her lips. It actually feels really good to introduce yourself as the boss's wife. They respect you and value you, Chloe said, clearly directing the comment at Harper. Harper grimaced. She felt like this woman was incredibly attention-starved and desperate for validation. If that's the case, you better make the most of it. Sir will be back in a few days. You might not be able to come in here anymore. Harper couldn't help but say out of pure annoyance. Because Chloe was in a fantastic mood, she didn't pay much mind to Harper's jab. Why are you so bitter? Do you like my husband? Are you his mistress or something? Chloe accused. Harper didn't know whether to laugh or be furious at Chloe's sheer audacity. She had the guts to pretend to be her husband's wife. Yet she didn't even know what the real wife looked like. It was like she had walked right into a lion's den to tame the beast without even gathering the slightest bit of intel on how to do it. Instead of getting angry, Harper just laughed at her utter stupidity. Ma'am, why would you think that? Matthew is your husband, right? You would definitely know if he had a mistress or not, because you live under the same roof. But that is if you're actually his real wife. Chloe's smile slowly vanished at Harper's words. She turned pale and couldn't look Harper in the eye. Ah, of course. I know my husband wouldn't stoop to your level. I just asked because maybe you have a crush on him. Let me be the one to tell you. He will never, ever look your way. Harper smirked and faced Chloe. Don't worry. I'm not in the habit of claiming things that aren't mine, Harper said pointedly. Chloe didn't say another word. She felt that if she continued arguing with Harper, she would only lose. She decided to just ignore Harper, convincing herself she was just a lowly secretary anyway. The day ended without Harper and Chloe speaking to each other again. Since Chloe had officially introduced herself as Matthew's wife, Harper became known strictly as his temporary secretary, while the real one was on leave. The next day, just as Harper expected, she arrived at the office first, while Chloe strolled in past 10 a.m. Seeing Chloe's outfit, Harper was even more appalled. She looked like a model walking down a runway in a long, violet, sequined evening gown with a thigh-high slit on the right leg. It was so covered in glitter that it actually hurt the eyes to look at it. Ah. I know you love my outfit, but try not to make your jealousy so obvious, Chloe said upon catching Harper staring. There is absolutely nothing to be jealous of regarding your outfit, ma'am. I was just staring because I was wondering if you actually have a personal stylist. Chloe smiled broadly and nodded. Of course I do. We rich people always have stylists, Chloe boasted proudly. Even though the truth was, she had picked the gown out herself. Harper grimaced. If that's the case, it looks like your stylist holds a personal grudge against you to make you wear that. You look like an octopus that just escaped from the ocean. Smoke practically billowed from Chloe's ears. She couldn't accept being insulted by a mere subordinate. I don't mean to be insulting, ma'am. I'm just telling the truth. It would be best if you fired your stylist. If you want, I can recommend someone to you, Harper added with a sweet smile, feigning concern. Chloe's annoyance slowly faded upon hearing Harper's helpful tone. Is it really that ugly? Chloe asked, twirling around to check herself in the reflection. Harper didn't hesitate to nod, because it genuinely was a hideous sight. It was completely inappropriate for a corporate environment. Chloe swallowed hard, her ego secretly bruised by Harper's critique, especially since she had chosen the gown herself. Fine. Talk to this stylist you mentioned and hire her for me, Chloe ordered, desperate to improve her fashion sense. Harper smiled widely as a brilliant idea popped into her head. Okay, ma'am, but this stylist I'm talking about isn't available 24/7. When you call her, she'll come. She's sort of on call, but I guarantee 100% that she has incredible fashion sense. No problem. Give me her number. I'll personally call her every morning to have her come to the house, Chloe said. Harper didn't hesitate to give her own alternate burner number. After that, Chloe sat in her husband's chair, without so much as a thank you. Harper thought Chloe wouldn't take her suggestions seriously while they were at the office, but to her immense surprise, she received a call from Chloe on the burner phone later. She didn't turn down Chloe's offer to be her stylist. She had purposefully given her own number because she wanted to personally surveil Chloe, figure out her true background, and see exactly who she was. She recommended herself as the stylist without Chloe knowing, ensuring she wouldn't be recognized. Harper put on a wig, applied much heavier, darker lipstick, and filled in her eyebrows with a stark brown tint. It didn't look bad. It actually suited her pale complexion quite well. She immediately drove to the address Chloe had provided. At first, she was shocked to discover it was a sprawling estate in a highly exclusive gated community in the Chicago North Shore, the residence of the Sterling family. The Sterling family was notorious because they were one of her husband's biggest corporate rivals in the automotive tech and polymer industry. Once she arrived at the mansion, a housekeeper opened the door and asked her to wait in the lavish living room. She waited for a few minutes before Chloe came downstairs. Good morning, ma'am. I'm Harper. She introduced herself to Chloe using her real first name, knowing Chloe only knew her as the secretary. Chloe looked her up and down before looking at her again. You really do have good taste in fashion. Looks like you can actually help me. Just as Harper predicted. Come on, follow me. Harper grimaced at the sheer rudeness. The woman didn't even bother to greet her back. While walking upstairs to Chloe's bedroom, Harper observed her surroundings. When they reached the second floor, they crossed paths with Mr. and Mrs. Sterling, who looked like they had just woken up. Harper immediately recognized them because she had seen their photos on Matthew's laptop while he was conducting competitive research. However, she had no idea what their connection to Chloe was because she had never seen Chloe in those corporate files. Chloe, who is this person you're bringing into the house now? Mr. Sterling demanded, his voice booming. Harper was startled, her eyes widening slightly. She suddenly realized that Chloe was the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Sterling, her husband's bitter corporate rivals. She finally understood where Chloe got her profound lack of respect. Dad, she's just a stylist. You're being paranoid again. Chloe's father glared at her. Chloe immediately looked away and bowed her head. Just make sure you do your actual job and get it done while it's early. I don't want any loose ends, so fix your mess and do it right. Mr. Sterling warned coldly. Harper felt a chill run down her spine. She knew exactly what he was referring to. If she were just a simple stylist completely oblivious to Chloe's idiotic schemes, she probably wouldn't have paid attention. But no. She already smelled the rot. And now she knew that even Chloe's parents were co-conspirators in this massive corporate fraud. I know, Dad. Anyway, We'll just be in my room. Chloe walked past her parents. Harper immediately followed her. As soon as they entered Chloe's massive bedroom, the woman faced her. You can open my walk-in closet and choose something for me, Chloe ordered. Harper didn't hesitate to pick out clothes that were actually appropriate for a high-level corporate office. She handed her a sleek pair of tailored trousers, sensible designer heels, and a crisp silk blouse. Here, ma'am. This will look stunning on you. Simple, but it projects authority. It doesn't look overly flashy, Harper advised. Chloe took the outfit and examined herself in the full-length mirror. It's okay, Chloe commented. Even though she absolutely loved what Harper had picked out, she couldn't bring herself to praise it because it would hurt her fragile ego. Harper just shrugged. Harper thought she would be allowed to go home after that. But Chloe made her pick out 3 more sets of office attire for the coming days so that, allegedly, she wouldn't have to bother calling her again. That worked perfectly in Harper's favor because she had zero desire to return to this house. She agreed instantly. After picking out the clothes, she was paid in cash, and she immediately rushed back to her and Matthew's penthouse to get ready for work. She needed to beat Chloe to the office. A few minutes after Harper arrived at Vance Industries, Chloe strutted in, her head held high, walking with a confident strut, clearly proud of her new, professional attire. You look much better today, ma'am, Harper complimented, knowing the woman was practically dying for validation. I know. I guess what you said yesterday actually had some use, she said snootily before sitting down. Harper just shook her head. She wondered just how physically painful it was for this woman to utter the words, thank you, seeing as she could never seem to say it. But regardless, Harper was incredibly thankful she had posed as Chloe's stylist, because it allowed her to discover that she was the daughter of the Sterling family. Days passed. Harper and Chloe barely spoke because Harper was usually alone in the executive suite, while Chloe was off wandering around different departments. She was worse than a politician running for mayor, practically begging for votes by trying to act buddy-buddy with Matthew's employees. Harper, give me the access to Matthew's bank accounts. Harper looked up from typing on her keyboard at Chloe's demand. She had just walked into the office and immediately demanded it. Excuse me? Gosh, I said. Give me the access to Matthew's bank accounts. Linked personal details too, Chloe said irritably, rolling her eyes. Harper let out a small laugh. She honestly didn't know where Chloe found the sheer audacity to try and hijack Matthew's financial access. What? Is there something funny about what I said? Chloe asked, an eyebrow raised, desperately trying to hide her rising panic. Nothing, ma'am. I'm just wondering, why do you need to ask me for Sir's bank accounts? If you are his wife, shouldn't you personally have access to them already? Chloe froze for a moment, clearly caught off guard by Harper's logic. What do you care? I forgot the passwords. Chloe stammered, trying hard to mask her intense embarrassment. Harper shrugged, ignoring Chloe's obvious panic. If that's the case, you should just ask Sir directly, ma'am, Harper said boldly. What? I need the access to his accounts right now. What kind of useless secretary are you that you can't even follow a simple order? Ma'am, I am just a secretary. Remember? Why would Sir entrust his private bank account access to me? Harper said with heavy sarcasm. She couldn't stop herself from being snarky given how incredibly vile Chloe's attitude was. Why don't you just ask him? Since you are the wife, after all. Who exactly is the wife between the two of us? Harper watched Chloe swallow hard multiple times before completely averting her gaze. Fine. I'll just ask him myself. And I will definitely tell Matthew to fire you, she said, through gritted teeth, standing up aggressively. Well, it's a good thing I don't hold the keys to everything then, Harper replied calmly. And you're still talking back? Just you wait. Once I talk to Matthew, I am going to have you thrown out of here, Chloe threatened. Harper looked up at the ceiling and sighed. I haven't done anything wrong. What do you mean nothing? You answer back to me as if I'm not your boss. Ma'am, You asked a question. Naturally, I have to answer it. See, the way you answer, it's like you have zero respect for me. You always have a smart mouth. Harper grimaced at Chloe's repetitive, weak excuses, secretly rubbing her temples. She decided to stop talking to her and just let her throw her little tantrum. You are so annoying. Whatever. Why did Matthew even hire you? You're useless, Chloe said spitefully, aggressively snatching her iPhone off the desk and storming out of the office. I'd be ashamed to be called useless, considering you're infinitely more useless than me. And a fraud, Harper muttered, staring at the door Chloe had just walked out of. Ever since their argument, Chloe rarely spoke to Harper. Harper also noticed Chloe keeping her distance, something she was deeply grateful for because she couldn't stand being around the woman for another second. One evening, Matthew called and said he was flying back tomorrow because he needed to be present for the company's major event. It was the 14th annual corporate gala, happening the day after tomorrow. The next morning, Harper went to work feeling energized because Matthew was coming home. As soon as she entered the corporate lobby, she was greeted by the sight of Matthew's employees surrounding Chloe. Ma'am, is Sir coming home today? Is the corporate anniversary gala pushing through? I really hope it does. We're so excited. We know Sir always has surprises for us. Like every year. I hope I win the raffle this time. And I hope it's a high-end Peloton so my mom can finally start working out. Harper heard the rapid-fire excitement from her husband's staff. She didn't interrupt immediately, highly amused by the utterly clueless look on Chloe's face. She looked like a lost child who had no idea what was happening in the real world. What anniversary celebration? Chloe asked, looking visibly overwhelmed by the crowd around her. Oh, ma'am, you're joking. You forgot? Sir's company started in 2012, and tomorrow is the 14th corporate anniversary. Ma'am, an employee answered. Chloe was deeply confused, so to get the employees to back off, she forced a fake smile and gestured for them to quiet down. The employees immediately complied. We haven't actually talked about. Harper swiftly walked over to Chloe's spot. Before Chloe could finish her sentence, Harper interjected. The corporate event is pushing through. Sir said it's black tie formal attire. As usual. He's taking care of the banquet catering. So you don't need to bring anything but yourselves, Harper announced with her head held high. The employees immediately erupted into cheers. Out of the corner of her eye, Harper saw the intense irritation contorting Chloe's face because Harper had completely stolen the spotlight. Follow me to the office, Chloe said to Harper, her voice deadly serious and seething with anger as she walked away first. Harper saw Matthew's employees gulp nervously at how intense Chloe looked. Harper, however, didn't feel an ounce of fear. She shrugged and followed, but before she got too far, she heard an employee shout, "Thank you, Harper, for the update." Harper didn't turn around, simply waving a hand in acknowledgement over her shoulder. As soon as they entered the executive office, Chloe moved to slap her. But before Chloe's hand could make contact with Harper's face, Harper swiftly dodged. How dare you! You humiliated me in front of my employees. Harper let out a dry, mocking laugh at Chloe's accusation, which only made steam practically shoot out of Chloe's ears. Humiliated? Ma'am. I simply gave them an answer because you clearly had absolutely no idea what was going on, Harper said sarcastically. You are so thick-skinned. You are just a secretary. Learn your place. I know exactly what my job is as a secretary. It is to inform them of whatever Sir Matthew instructs me to. Harper shot back. Chloe turned slightly pale, a flash of nervousness crossing her features. He talked to you? When? She asked rapidly. Last night. He sent me an email. He said you should be the one to attend and host because his flight was delayed. Harper lied smoothly. She didn't want to bust Chloe just yet because she had already devised the perfect time and place to expose the imposter. She saw Chloe secretly blow out a breath, looking visibly relieved. Compared to her earlier rage, she instantly calmed down. Next time, don't overstep. I went to bed early last night, so I didn't check my emails and didn't see his message. I've trained myself to sleep early because Matthew hates it when I stay up late, Chloe said, her voice calm but dripping with arrogance. Harper just shrugged and sat down at her desk. Sir is quite sweet then, ma'am, she commented, even though she was internally rolling her eyes. Very. Look at him. He's letting me attend a major company event. Even though I'm new to this, it's because he trusts me completely. Harper grimaced at the sheer bragging. She just shook her head and started on her tasks, realizing there was absolutely no point in talking to Chloe when all she was going to hear was delusional arrogance. A phone call from Matthew suddenly shattered the silence of the office where Harper and Chloe sat. Harper squeezed her eyes shut, realizing she had forgotten to put her phone on silent. Looking over at Chloe, she saw the woman staring at her, expectantly waiting for her to answer. Go on. Answer it. It might be an emergency, Chloe said. Harper found Chloe's sudden niceness bizarre, but she answered the call anyway. Hello, Harper greeted Matthew softly, purposefully keeping her voice down because Chloe was right there. Hey, honey, I just landed. I just wanted to let you know I'm going to rest for a bit. Then I'll come pick you up at the office, Matthew said, causing Harper to panic slightly. Oh, no need. I can handle myself, hubby. The line went silent for a moment. Why are you whispering? Are you in a meeting? No, I'm not. I'm in the office. I'm just taking care of some things right now. Can we talk later? Matthew let out a deep sigh over the line, which made Harper wince. Okay, be careful over there. I'll just wait for you at the penthouse. I love you. I love you too. Harper quickly ended the call, took a deep breath, and placed her phone face down on the desk. She made sure it was switched to silent this time. So you aren't completely lacking in affection after all. You actually have a husband, Chloe remarked, looking at Harper with newfound curiosity. Yes. We've been married for 4 years, Harper replied. Chloe just nodded. So you actually have a love life. I thought you only cared about work. You seem like a total workaholic. You're even stricter than me, Chloe said, sounding genuinely interested in Harper's romantic life for once. Balance is necessary. I can't be intensely serious about work for the rest of my life. I'm just strictly professional when it comes to the office, ma'am. When it's work time, it's just work. Chloe didn't say anything else, so Harper remained silent as well. Just as Matthew had promised, he waited for Harper to arrive. The moment Harper stepped into their luxury penthouse, he enveloped her in a massive hug. You really didn't miss me at all, did you? Harper teased, laughing at Matthew. I missed you so much. How was your time at the office? Was it difficult? I'm so sorry you had to manage everything for a whole week. I really didn't expect my secretary to request a sudden 1-week leave. Matthew took Harper's designer tote bag and placed it on the console table. They sat down together on the plush velvet sofa. It was fine. I didn't have a hard time. I actually kind of enjoyed it. Harper smirked at Matthew. Matthew frowned, sensing something entirely different behind Harper's mischievous grin. There's something suspicious about that smile. Is there something I need to know? Harper nodded. A lot. You have a lot to catch up on. But not right now. Tomorrow, at the anniversary gala, I have a massive surprise. And I'll tell you everything you need to know then. Okay. I'm slightly terrified of this surprise. But all right, I'll look forward to it tomorrow. The following day, Harper didn't go into Vance Industries. Chloe was highly confused because she hadn't received any notice from Harper the previous day about being absent. But despite that, Chloe brushed it off because she couldn't contain her excitement, especially since she held a VIP invitation card for the gala that evening. She did find it slightly weird that she possessed a formal invitation card, given she had introduced herself as Matthew's wife, but she quickly ignored the thought. While Chloe was at the corporate headquarters, Matthew and Harper were busy preparing for the event later that night. They were following up with their elite event planner. Afterward, they met with their personal stylists to get fitted for their evening wear. By late afternoon, their glam squad arrived, and they immediately got ready. Harper finished first, and once she was done, Matthew took his turn. While the stylists were busy grooming Matthew, Harper finalized the things she needed to do. Loud, booming music greeted them, even from outside the grand ballroom of the luxury hotel. From the corridor, they could see colorful strobe lights reflecting off the massive glass chandeliers. While Matthew and Harper were still in the foyer, Chloe was already inside the ballroom, happily mingling with Matthew's staff. Good evening, everyone. Before we start, can I ask everyone to find a comfortable seat and listen to me for a moment? Chloe spoke into a microphone, capturing the employees' attention. The employees quickly took their seats at the banquet tables and faced Chloe, who was still smiling brightly while clutching the mic. She was fully embracing her fabricated role as Mrs. Vance, standing proudly in the center of the stage. You all know that Matthew is away on a business trip, right? The employees nodded. It makes me sad, but for tonight, we will celebrate the company's 14th anniversary together because Matthew hasn't flown back yet, Chloe announced confidently, even though the information had originally come from Harper. The expressions on some of the employees' faces fell. In their minds, the event was always spectacular when Matthew was there. Matthew was famously generous. They were thinking that if Matthew were present, they would surely receive massive bonuses and prizes. They didn't really know Chloe well enough yet to know if she'd be just as generous. Others, however, remained happy with Chloe's announcement because, at the very least, they were still getting a lavish party. Don't worry. Whatever you are accustomed to doing during the anniversary gala, we will do exactly the same tonight, Chloe added. Noticing the shift in the crowd's energy, the employees seemed to liven up. So just enjoy tonight, because you'll all be back to the grind on Monday. This only happens once a year, so make the most of it, Chloe advised. Chloe heard the chorus of thank yous from the employees. She felt a massive rush of adrenaline from the validation. After her speech, she immediately stepped off the stage and mingled with the staff again until she got tired and finally sat down at the VIP table. Meanwhile, Matthew and Harper were greeted by their event planner in the hallway. Jillian, is everything ready? Harper asked Jillian, the elite event planner she had hired. Jillian was the one managing every detail of the gala. Her husband Matthew knew Jillian well because they had contracted her for previous corporate events. Yes, ma'am. Everything is set. I think everyone is already inside because the head count matches the number of invitation cards we collected, Jillian replied. Harper smiled, knowing that a complete head count meant Chloe was already inside. But there's a problem, ma'am, Jillian said, looking suddenly anxious. Hearing Jillian's tone, Matthew straightened up, ready to listen. Is this about Chloe? Harper asked. Jillian nodded. Yes, ma'am. She started the event earlier. We couldn't stop her because she kept insisting that she is the... Jillian trailed off, glancing nervously at Matthew. She hesitated to finish her sentence. Jillian knew exactly who Chloe was because Harper had specifically instructed her to ensure Chloe gained entry. Matthew's eyebrows shot up. Who is Chloe, honey? Is there something I should know? He asked seriously. Harper watched Jillian swallow hard, clearly terrified. Harper glanced at Matthew for a second before turning back to Jillian. I'll handle this. Thank you, Jillian. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Please try to enjoy yourselves, ma'am. Sir, Jillian said hesitantly before walking away, entirely unsure if Matthew and Harper were actually going to have a good time or if a disaster was about to unfold. Honey, what is it that you're trying to tell me? Why won't you just tell me now? You're making me anxious, Matthew said gently. A small, reassuring smile appeared on Harper's face, and she gently caressed his cheek. Trust me, okay? I know you are going to love this surprise. Matthew let out a breath. He couldn't push the issue any further when Harper was looking at him so affectionately. Okay, fine. I trust you. Matthew and Harper exchanged a look. Matthew firmly intertwined his fingers with hers before they continued walking toward the doors. Ever the perfect gentleman. Matthew reached out and pushed the heavy double doors open. As the doors swung wide, the employees slowly turned their heads toward the entrance. Those closest to Matthew and Harper gasped in absolute shock, their jaws hitting the floor. They blinked rapidly. looking back and forth at their boss and his supposed secretary, their hands locked together. Wait, isn't that Harper? Why is she with Sir Matthew? Oh my God. Don't tell me they've been having a secret affair and they're debuting it tonight. I feel so bad for Ma'am Chloe if that's true. The secretary stole her husband. What an ungrateful bitch. She was hired as a temporary secretary, and she actually managed to seduce him. Harper grimaced at the whispers rippling through the crowd of Matthew's employees. Even though they were whispering, it didn't escape her ears. Or Matthew's. What the hell are they talking about? You, my mistress. How dare they? Remember their faces, because after tonight, I am firing every single one of them. No one disrespects you like that, Matthew growled, his eyes blazing. If looks could kill, half the ballroom would be dead on the floor. It's not entirely their fault they're saying that. There is one person who is the root cause of all this, Harper said calmly. Harper looked directly toward where Chloe was seated. Chloe was sitting in the grand VIP chair, explicitly reserved for the CEO and his wife. All the color had drained from Chloe's face, and her jaw was practically on the table. She looked panicked, looking around as if debating whether to sprint for the exit or stay frozen in her seat. Ma'am Chloe, aren't you going to do anything? We know you are incredibly kind, but it isn't right to just let them trample all over your dignity. You are the legal wife. You have every right to fight for Sir Matthew against that homewrecker, shouted a female employee, which instantly made Matthew's blood boil. How dare you say that straight to my face? Do you have any idea who I am, and who this woman standing next to me is? Matthew's voice echoed like thunder. She is my one and only wife. Whoever this woman is that you're calling my legal wife, I am not married to her. My wife is no one else but the woman you just insulted and disrespected, Matthew declared fiercely, barely restraining himself from walking over and slapping the employee who had shouted. The entire ballroom fell dead silent. Jaws dropped. Then, the whispers exploded. I thought Ma'am Chloe was Sir Matthew's wife? Ma'am Chloe literally introduced herself to us as Sir's wife. If that's true, then Harper is Sir's real wife. Does that mean Ma'am Chloe has been lying this whole time? Why would Sir Matthew lie about Harper being his wife? So, obviously, Mom Chloe is the liar. That Chloe is a complete fraud. Hearing the frantic whispers of his employees, the pieces finally clicked together in Matthew's mind. But before Matthew could say another word, Harper stepped forward. What Matthew said is absolutely true. I am Harper Vance. I am his wife. And the woman you have been calling Ma'am Chloe is a complete impostor, Harper announced into the silence. The crowd gasped collectively. Harper felt Matthew squeeze her hand tightly, and she looked up at him. His eyes were silently asking if she was okay, and she answered him with a reassuring smile and a slight nod. You fraud! You shameless liar! No wonder you were perfectly fine with us slacking off, because you aren't even our real boss. You're a scammer. This is what you deserve. Suddenly, employees started chucking crumpled napkins and centerpieces at Chloe. Wait, stop! Why are you only blaming me? Didn't you all enjoy yourselves while I was in charge? Don't act so innocent, because you're all just as trashy as I am, Chloe screamed, standing up, unable to endure being pelted by the angry crowd any longer. The employees went quiet for a second, seemingly hit by the truth of her words. But we never would have done that if it wasn't for you. You were a terrible influence, an employee fired back, breaking the silence, which prompted a wave of agreement from the rest. Everyone, quiet down! Harper's authoritative voice cut through the chaos, and the employees instantly obeyed. Even Chloe, surprisingly, shut her mouth. Before we officially begin this event, I want to clarify to everyone that I am not a mistress. I am not just Matthew's secretary. I am his wife. I know you were all swept up by Chloe's lies, especially since none of you knew who I was back then because I chose to live a highly private life. But tonight, I cannot stay silent anymore. Because if I stay silent, someone else might try to pretend to be me again. Harper delivered the lengthy speech, pausing for a moment to take a deep breath. Chloe, I know exactly who you are. You are the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Sterling, aren't you? The daughter of my husband's biggest corporate rivals. Tell me, what was your endgame in pretending to be me? Don't even try to lie unless you want to add to the charges against you, Harper demanded. Harper already knew that Chloe's father had orchestrated it, but she wanted to hear the confession straight from Chloe's mouth, so Matthew could hear it too. Chloe looked around the room. She swallowed hard, seeing every single person in the grand ballroom glaring at her. Are you going to talk? Or do you want me to tell your father that you failed miserably? Harper smirked. Matthew, beside her, clenched his jaw in fury. Fine, I'll tell you, Chloe yelled, turning away. I was forced into it, okay? I had zero plans to infiltrate Matthew's company and pretend to be his wife. But I had no choice. My dad forced me to impersonate you so we could siphon millions from Matthew's accounts. Chloe confessed, refusing to make eye contact. How dare you? I will press full federal charges against you and your father. Matthew roared. Chloe flinched violently at Matthew's threat. Some of the employees in the room visibly recoiled, terrified of Matthew's dark, lethal aura. Oh no! Please don't! I didn't even get a single cent from your company. Harper knows that because she refused to give me your personal bank details. Yes, I tried to get them, but I failed. So please, don't press charges, Chloe begged pathetically. You had absolutely no right to dictate orders to my people while pretending to be my wife. Did that even cross your mind? Well, you're out of luck. Because you messed with the wrong family. I may not have been beside my wife when you were impersonating her. And I have no idea what other damage you've caused. But I will not let you walk free to do this to someone else, Matthew stated with absolute finality. Matthew didn't hesitate to call the police. And within minutes, the Chicago PD arrived at the ballroom. Arrest her, Matthew ordered the officers. While Matthew spoke with the lead detective, Harper stood quietly, watching as Chloe struggled wildly against the officers trying to handcuff her. No! I swear I will never do this again. I promise. Please, don't send me to jail. Chloe sobbed as the cuffs clicked around her wrists. Harper, tell them not to lock me up, she pleaded, her eyes begging desperately. Harper looked away and offered a polite, fake cough to mask the fleeting shred of pity she felt. It's too late, Chloe. Matthew is right. We can't just forgive you and let you go, because your ego will just inflate again. But don't worry, you won't be the only one going to federal prison. Your father, who ordered you to commit corporate fraud, will be joining you, so you'll still be together, if that's what you're worried about. No! I don't want to! Harper, please, have mercy! Chloe shrieked as the officers dragged her out of the ballroom, kicking and screaming the whole way. When the police finally hauled Chloe out, the thick tension in the ballroom lingered. Some people were still staring at the grand double doors where Chloe had vanished. Matthew and Harper simultaneously let out deep sighs. Without warning, Matthew pulled Harper into a tight embrace and kissed her forehead. Was that your grand surprise, honey? You executed that perfectly. I am so incredibly proud of you. You handled all of that even without me by your side, Matthew murmured softly. Harper smiled. I really didn't have a hard time. She was incredibly easy to manipulate. Honestly, she probably suffered more than I did, because she didn't get a single dime, Harper joked. Matthew gently pinched Harper's nose for her smugness. I'm just so proud of you. A loud, awkward chorus of fake coughs interrupted Matthew and Harper's intimate moment, making them suddenly realize they were still standing on stage in front of hundreds of employees. The staff stood awkwardly, trying to hide their immense embarrassment. I apologize if the event was ruined. Don't worry. Aside from tonight, we will hold another official anniversary celebration at a different luxury hotel. For now, just treat tonight as a simple get-together with your coworkers, Harper announced. However, the crowd didn't seem thrilled. Many kept their heads bowed, while others remained completely silent. Ma'am. Sir, We are so sorry for what we said earlier. We honestly had no idea what was actually going on. We know we spoke out of turn and didn't use our brains, but please, we hope you can forgive us," said the female employee who had yelled at Harper earlier, her voice trembling. "We're so sorry, ma'am." "Sir," another chimed in, until a cascade of apologies echoed through the room. Matthew sighed deeply. Harper grabbed Matthew's hand tightly and looked up at him. It was a look that silently told him to just let it go and forgive them. "Next time, be more observant. Don't just jump to conclusions blindly. For tonight, I will forgive you. But if you make a mistake like this again, I will have no mercy, and I will absolutely fire you," Matthew warned them strictly. The crowd visibly came back to life, a collective, massive sigh of relief sweeping through the room. Harper simply smiled. She reasoned that none of this would have happened if it hadn't been for Chloe's manipulation. "All right. Loosen up, guys. Enjoy the night," Harper cheered. The employees shouted their thanks in unison before rushing back to their respective tables. The tension slowly evaporated as the actual gala commenced. Matthew and Harper gave a short, inspiring speech about the company's future before the 5-course dinner was served. After dinner, the games and raffles began. Matthew and Harper didn't join in, opting to sit back and watch from their VIP table. They couldn't help but smile, seeing the sheer joy on their employees' faces as they won luxury vacations, Peloton bikes, and high-end electronics. The next day, because Matthew and Harper were incredibly busy, they left the entire legal battle in the hands of their high-powered corporate attorneys. The legal team was highly consistent with updates, so they didn't have to stress over it, knowing their lawyers were the best in the state. And it wasn't just Chloe who was indicted. Her father was arrested on federal charges of corporate espionage and fraud as well. "I have another overseas meeting coming up. Do you want to come with me?" Matthew asked. They were currently in Harper's office. Harper was sitting at the secretary's desk, while Matthew was lounging in the CEO's chair. Ever since Chloe's impersonation fiasco, Matthew hadn't hired a new executive secretary. He transferred his real secretary to the marketing department and permanently placed Harper in the role. It wasn't that they didn't trust the secretary. They just wanted to be extremely cautious. They refused to let another rat like Chloe slip through the cracks. For them, once was more than enough. "No way. I'm your secretary now, remember? Who is going to run Vance Industries if I go with you? It's just for 3 days," Matthew argued. "Even so, I've learned my lesson." Harper laughed, shaking her head. Matthew chuckled along with his wife. "By the way, how is Sterling Corporation doing?" Harper asked, changing the subject as she suddenly remembered Chloe. Matthew leaned back in his leather chair before answering. "From what I hear, they're on the verge of bankruptcy. Chloe's mother tried to take over the company as interim CEO, but she has absolutely zero knowledge of how to run a tech conglomerate. The major investors are pulling their funding one by one. And it's not just that their brand image is completely radioactive now," Matthew explained. "The Sterling family was notorious in their circle for being incredibly wealthy and successful in the corporate arena. That was exactly why the news of Mr. Sterling's federal indictment hit the industry like a nuclear bomb, all because he ordered his daughter to infiltrate a rival firm. However fast Sterling Corp had risen to the top, their downfall was twice as rapid." "What a waste," Harper shrugged. "Well, they brought it upon themselves." "Exactly. It's not our fault. It was their decision to commit corporate espionage. We just handed them the exact consequences they deserved," Harper said matter-of-factly. Matthew nodded in total agreement. Shortly after, Matthew steered the conversation away, and they didn't waste another breath on the Sterling family. A few days later, Matthew flew out for his business meeting in Munich, Germany. Harper didn't tag along because she wanted to personally oversee the Chicago headquarters while he was away, while Harper was running the company stateside. On the other side of the world, Matthew flashed a brilliant smile at his European counterpart in a sleek Munich boardroom. As they shook hands, Matthew couldn't believe he had actually secured the signature on the massive contract. Mr. Caldwell was the billionaire CEO of one of the largest automotive conglomerates in Europe and the US. He was their newest buyer for the advanced polymers and synthetic oils needed for his company's next-generation electric vehicles. "Thank you so much, Mr. Caldwell," Matthew said respectfully. "My pleasure, Mr. Vance. Your company's tech is quite impressive. I've heard a lot about Vance Industries recently, and also a great deal about your wife." Matthew chuckled warmly. He knew exactly what Mr. Caldwell was referring to: Harper's flawless takedown of the Sterling family. The scandal had made the front page of the Wall Street Journal and Forbes, thrusting Harper into the corporate spotlight. Matthew hadn't expected that the incident would actually draw so much positive attention. Dozens of investors had approached them since, but they were highly selective, refusing to hand out their trust so easily. "I'm her husband, Mr. Caldwell, and even I was shocked by what she pulled off. I had absolutely no idea at the time because I was gone for a week on a business trip to Tokyo. She just completely surprised me when I got back to the States. I read about that as well. I can't help but praise your wife for her absolute brilliance. She handled a corporate espionage threat flawlessly. I like doing business with smart families." "I couldn't agree more," Matthew said with immense pride. After some final pleasantries about the automotive market, they parted ways. Matthew returned to his luxury suite at the Four Seasons and immediately dialed Harper's number. "Hi, honey," Matthew greeted cheerfully. Harper let out a soft laugh before replying. "I can sense something based on your tone. Is it good news?" she asked, without beating around the bush. Matthew nodded and beamed, even though Harper couldn't see him. "Yes," Mr. Caldwell signed. "And it's all thanks to you." Harper frowned in confusion. "Me? What did I have to do with it? And how does he even know me? I've never met the man." "Well, you know the news about the Sterling indictments went global, right? Because of the federal case you built?" "Yes. But what does that have to do with Mr. Caldwell signing? He placed massive trust in our company because of how you handled the crisis. He is incredibly impressed by you." Harper laughed softly. "You're inflating my ego too much. Anyway, are you flying back soon?" she asked, shifting the topic. "Yes, tomorrow." "Is there a problem at the office? I can charter a flight back tonight. Since I'm done anyway." "Chill. Everything is perfectly fine here, my sweet husband. I was just asking. You're getting overly paranoid. Lay off the espresso," Harper teased, not letting Matthew spiral into panic mode. She knew Matthew was just traumatized that another disaster might strike the company while he was away. "Honey, I'm serious. And I'm serious too. Give yourself a break, my dear husband. You overwork yourself way too much. Let me handle the heavy lifting for a while. I spent years being an introvert, just lounging at home. Now it's my turn to run the show. And it's your turn to actually take a vacation." Matthew couldn't stop himself from smiling. This was exactly why he had married Harper. Aside from loving her unconditionally, she was the ultimate partner. She took care of him in absolutely every aspect of life. "No, it's not fair if it's just me, honey. You need a break too. It hasn't exactly been a walk in the park for you these past few weeks either," Matthew insisted. Harper rolled her eyes at her husband's stubbornness. "Okay, fine. We'll take a break for 2 weeks. Let's let your former secretary handle the floor while we're gone. I trust her now, after a thorough background check and observation." Matthew shook his head, amazed at how much Chloe's stunt had fundamentally changed them. Before, they were quick to trust. Now, they practically had to hire private investigators and monitor a person's every move before allowing them into their inner circle. Matthew and Harper's plan pushed through, taking a luxurious 2-week vacation just for themselves. They flew to the Amalfi Coast in Italy. They savored every single second of the Mediterranean sun. Upon returning to the U.S., Matthew immediately threw himself back into running Vance Industries. Harper, on the other hand, took a detour to visit Chloe at the Federal Correctional Facility. She sat quietly in a cold, metal chair in the visitation room, waiting. A few moments later, Chloe walked in, escorted by a corrections officer. At first glance, Harper couldn't help but stare. She was genuinely shocked by the drastic physical toll prison had taken on Chloe. She had lost an alarming amount of weight, and her once perfect hair was a frizzy, unkempt mess. Her expensive spray tan had faded entirely, leaving her skin dull and prematurely aged. If you didn't look closely, you wouldn't even recognize her as the glamorous heiress she used to be. "Stop looking at me like you pity me," Chloe snapped the second she sat down on the opposite side of the plexiglass. Harper looked away, grimacing. "Based on how you look right now, I know your situation is awful. Being in federal prison is never a good time." Harper shook her head at Chloe's relentless, bratty attitude. She had genuinely thought Chloe might have changed, having experienced the harsh reality of lockup. But clearly, she hadn't learned a thing. "I'm not here to insult or mock you. I came here to see how you were doing, but you seem perfectly fine, considering you still have the energy to act like a bitch and talk back to me," Harper said coldly. Chloe looked away, her face flushing with pure rage. "You've seen me suffering and practically dying in here. Are you happy now?" Harper let out a dry laugh. "You really do have a black soul, don't you? I honestly thought you would have reflected on your actions. But apparently, even prison can't fix your entitlement. You tried to steal everything from me, my freedom, my identity, and our company. You have absolutely no right to accuse me of having a black soul because what you did was unforgivable. I am not the one who put you in here, Chloe. You did this to yourself. If you hadn't blindly followed your father's illegal orders, you wouldn't be wearing a jumpsuit right now. You had every right to say no to him, but you chose to do it because you wanted the easy money. And now you're blaming me? Are you insane?" Chloe averted her gaze, visibly struck by the harsh truth of Harper's words. "I visited you today because I wanted to see where your head was at. I wanted to see if you were actually remorseful, because if I saw that you had genuinely changed and regretted what you did, I was going to consider talking to Matthew's lawyers to see about a reduced sentence. But since this is the attitude you're going to give me, it's a good thing you showed your true colors immediately. Saves me from falling for your fake victim act again." Harper saw the flash of profound regret and panic wash over Chloe's face, but she completely ignored it. She realized that even when faced with the consequences, some people simply refuse to accept that they are the villains of their own story. Harper left the penitentiary with absolutely zero regrets about putting Chloe and her father behind bars, especially after seeing how aggressive and unrepentant they still were. She decided to focus all her time and energy entirely on Matthew and Vance Industries. From being a total introvert, Harper learned how to confidently socialize and command a room, charming even Matthew's most intimidating corporate partners. While Chloe and her father rotted in federal prison, paying the price for their crimes, Harper thrived. Change is entirely dependent on the individual. If you forcibly lock yourself in the past and refuse to take accountability, you will never move forward. You will remain stuck on the exact same page. But if you give yourself the chance to reflect, to absorb the reality of the situation, to distinguish right from wrong, and to actively choose to be better, a person can truly change and walk a straighter, brighter path. Sometimes, the first strike is all you get. Not everyone deserves a second chance, because some people will only use that second chance to abuse you all over again. And here is where our story ends for today. We hope you enjoyed this tale and learned a valuable lesson from it. Once again, thank you so much for your continued support of our channel.